Alright, hello, greetings and welcome in everyone. Hello. My name is Harrier Citadel, avian alien sentinel of Fort Mystehaven, perpetrator of creative chaos and general maker of things. Welcome in. Hello. Today is going to be an interesting day. It has been an interesting day. It shall continue to be an interesting day. So the laptop arrived. the streaming laptop which you guys made possible arrived in less than half a week. You filled the goal on Monday. I think it was Monday, not Tuesday. Anyway, the order was placed after stream, which was like wee hours of the morning in my time zone. And then it was one day, and then midday today, I get woken up because there's a package. So wow, that was so fast. It threw away all of the anticipated work that I thought I was going to do today because we were doing setups. Because I'm sorry, the ADHD is real. You can't find yourself with this huge piece of provision landing on your doorstep and then put it aside to prioritize other things. It's very difficult to do, and I did not have the self-control this day. But what is good news is that we have it mostly set up. I don't have it set up all the way enough yet. I still need to get the appropriate capture card to link my two machines to be able to do the two parts of the process that we need to do. At the same time. But I have got all of my software on the new machine. I have got most of the things working. I'm still in the process of setting up all of the OBS scenes, so that's still in process, and I've reshuffled my desk again, which is why it looks like I'm looking all the way that way to see if anything is being said in chat at the moment, because that's where chat is right this very second, is all the way to port. In my iteration of reality, which makes me look like I'm looking to starboard in my model, but it's fine. And yes, it has been a very oddly productive day. It has been an oddly productive day, and Thursday is like my shortest day of the week in terms of working hours. So I am surprised at how much we got done. So when I've got the capture card, I'll also be able to confirm everything in terms of audio inputs and all of that madness, because that's the next part of the thing that I'm still a bit shaky in terms of how it's going to end up actually working. But for the most part, I am pretty sure that we are almost entirely there. I'm pretty sure we're almost entirely there. So, probably by Monday, I should be finished with the build. Maybe. Saturday is going to be weird, so I'm not going to make any promises. Saturday is going to be a really weird day in my iteration of reality. But anyway, today, what is on the game plan is that we are going to be scratching a little bit of the 3D itch that's been niggling at us for the last couple of weeks now. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to start a base mesh for Ebony. Now, small disclaimer. Let's go to PC setup on Monday. Yes, asterisk. I'll keep you guys informed if it is in fact going to be the case. That we have it up and ready to roll. And we'll arrange my streaming schedule accordingly. I will let you guys know. But yes, the idea for today is that we are starting basically a new model. We're starting a new 3D model. And small disclaimer, there is a non-zero chance that some AI moderation tool might bonk us while we're live. It's not safe. It's not safe for work, right? But there is a non-zero chance that we might get bonked. I don't know. What the idea in general is that we want to work on something that's relatively low power to process. So if it starts bogging my model down, it's got too many vertices. I think that's a good idea of how much load it's putting this machine under, while we've still got the model on the same machine, right? So that's more or less how we're gonna run with this. But yes, thank you for joining us, Brad. It's good to see ya. Good to see ya. Yes. Yes, so as for why we're doing Ebony specifically, I have no particular reason. It just seemed like, gotta start somewhere, right? And of everyone in my current roster, Ebony is the character whose concept is oldest. So, he has been living rent-free in my mind in more or less his current state, give or take his glow-up that happened last year, for the largest number of years. So we're starting there, right? I think Aspen's name has been around longer, but she's had so many iterations of who and where and what she is that, yeah. And Lark is only a little bit younger than both of them. So we're gonna be starting all the way over yonder with Ebony. Now let's head over here and see how this is gonna behave. Let me just put my wings away. Because otherwise it might just be a little bit tricksy to see what we're doing. Okay, so I've made my references as transparent as I can to not get bonked and still be able to see what I'm working with. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start by creating the loops that are going to go around as joints. We're going to start in around the torso and then around the joints. Put all the loops in place for everything and then move inwards to close the gaps between all of our loops. So I'm going to start with a circle. And as for how many parts to this circle I want, absolutely not 32. Let's go for as few as we can feasibly afford to get away with. I think 12 is going to cut it. Okay. Let's roll with that. This side. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale that down. And push that up. And I'm going to start around the knees, I think, because the knees are challenging to get right. Okay. then what we're going to do is we're going to just go extrude. And I'm going to go Z-axis and pull this down. 1, extrude, Z, 2, extrude, Z. There we go. Then we're going to do shift duplicate, pull this one up for the top of the thigh, okay, and extrude Z. There we go. Let's do this. Mesh, normals, shade. Wait, I need to be in object mode for this. Object, shade, auto smooth. There we go. Okay, now I just want to check over here by my images. Put that one in front and put that one in front, okay, so that I can see the line art on top of what I'm actually working with. Okay. And we're gonna go scale X that way. There we go. Scale X. Scale X. Okay, scale X. Only the front ones this time. Scale X. That should work. There we go. All right. Then on this side, what we need to do is we need to grab the top loop. Basically what we need to do is we need to rotate it. And make it fit the rotation angle from the ball of the hip, which is going to be approximately there. This is just musculature. And then we will do loop cuts accordingly. Ooh. We only had the front half of this. No! Okay. Be gone with you. Add circle. Up. Scale. Move. And scale X. Okay, that should do the trick. And add circle, scale, scale X. Right. Scale Y. This needs to move. Scale Y. Okay. Now, what one needs to do is take those off. There we go. Not you, you. Edge. Bridge edge loops. Okay. There we go. Object mode. Shade auto smooth. Edit. Grab everything. Mesh. Normals. Recalculate. There we go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab that. We're going to add a generate a mirror on the x-axis. Yes, okay. That'll get the start going there. Edit mode. Grab the slot, extrude, Z, down here, grab you guys, pull you out like that, grab you guys, pull you out like that, extrude, Z, down, out a little bit more, extract, extrude, bleh. Scale X, down, in, scale X. Okay, there we go. I think here we're going to need to go extrude Z and up. And edge, bridge edge loops. Okay, that off. Now we get this alignment to not look quite so terrible. Okay. So now what we need to do is we've got the front looking more or less the right silhouette. Now we need to get the side to do the same thing. So first things first, you scale Y, just like that, scale Y, like so. You come across like that, you scale Y. Oh no, 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 undo, 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 undo. That's why. Okay. Scale Y. 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 There we go. Okay, probably gonna have to do the simplified knee. Maybe, we'll see. Let me put it in just for now. But okay. It looks like we're starting to get the silhouette of a thigh in place, okay. That works. Just check. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go add another circle here. Undo. Ooh. Okay, so here what we need to do, take the forward ones and pull them in. Like that. Okay. Grab the slot. pull it all back. And scale Y. And scale Y. Okay, looks a little bit messy right now, but it's fine. We're just doing the preliminary placements first. We're just doing preliminary placements first, okay? Then we're gonna go another circle. Gasp. So many circles. Scale the whole thing down. So there. And scale Y. There we go. And scale X. Move that in. Okay, object mode, and let's go shade auto smooth. Okay, got more or less the right sort of a silhouette going so far. So far so good, right? So far so good. Let us move on to the shoulder, because that's the next most important set of join loops. So we're going to go add circle, once again, 12. And we're going to go rotate 90. And we're going to go scale. Now, I've got this currently in A pose. I think we're actually going to probably need it in T pose. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare to work with. Probably. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting this here. Here. Extrude. There we go. Extrude. Extrude. Okay, and that is a hydrate. So everyone, acquire your nearest safe for consumption beverages, and let's take a sip. Whoo-wee! Coffee! Coffee, coffee, coffee. Good coffee. What are you guys drinking? And let's also reset while we're at it. There we go. Okay. Let's see. I'm just forgetting to drink regular water. Oh my. This is why we've got reminders. Okay, I'll come back to the shoulders because that's not gonna fly in a hurry. Okay. Next most important set of loops is gonna be around the waist area. So let's go there next. Mesh. Add circle. Let's go 24 this time. Gasp. More. Now what I want to do is I want to take these and I want to flatten them more. Okay, that looks like more or less a better cross section. Let's just add a little bit of a dip for the back. Okay. And then what we do is we go extrude and up. Is your title and category supposed to be what it is? No, I ran out of time before starting stream and I completely forgot. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Sishian. Ah, there's always something. There is always something. Whoopsie. Where is that part of my interface? Here it is. Okay. Where is my interwebs? Hold up. Let me just come over here for a second. And just grab corrections because, oh boy. Copy. Edit stream info. Paste. Done. Okay. Okay. I think we're there again. Okay. Okay, we're back. So what we're busy doing is we are basically working on a base mesh for a 3D model for one of my Mystehaven characters. And we're basically aiming to have this... We're basically aiming to learn a way of modeling that's a little bit more optimized for our future plans of being in a game engine than VTuber modeling, which is oddly a lot more detailed. Like a lot more detailed. So we are basically doing both learning work and prep work, and also scratching the self-indulgent itch. Yes. So yes, we're in Blender. We are blendering. Shoving the brain in the blender and going vrrr. Okay, this one is going to need another loop here. I feel like it's going to definitely need the next loop there. And it's going to need the next loop there. I'm not going to get away without those two. Okay. And this is going to be scaled like that. And like that. And like that. Okay. So above this line goes into ribcage, below this line goes into hip. Okay, slowly but certainly we're making progress. Okay. Now, I'm currently in the back view. I think? Yes. So now... Okay, silhouette wise, I'm happy with the legs. We'll see how the torso looks as we build it up. So here what I'm gonna do, I think, we're gonna have another loop here. We're not connected with it right now, yeah. No, we're gonna go scale Z. Here we go. And drop that down. Okay, so the one thing that I want to make sure that I get right is to have loops that are functional while, as far as possible, having good anatomy. With as few vertices as possible. Okay. That's a bit long. Still a bit long. Okay. And of course, I had not been using the entire thing. So all of that goes away because I messed up. There we go, and extrude. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Punch that up. There we go. But it's done. Scale Z. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. So obviously top view is looking abysmal right now. We'll fix that. Okay, and I will shape that a little bit more appropriately once we've actually got this connected to the rest of our torso, which we shall do from here, effective immediately. So first things first, we're going to just start putting this pectoral ridge in here, because this is one of our major Contour lines. Like major contour lines. Okay, so we have a little bit of a discrepancy going on here, I think, because look at the angle here that we're dealing with. It's way too directly slanted. There needs to be more of an outward curve. With these guys. So I'm going to use the side as the primary reference here, I think. I think the anatomy on the side is better than the anatomy on the front view. Okay, then that goes over there, which pulls us to the middle here. Okay. That contour looks more right. Extrude up. There we go. Extrude. Like so. Okay, we are slowly but certainly getting there. Okay. And we are not yet getting our VTube Studio model to lag, which is also great. It tells us we're not in hopelessly ridiculous mode just yet. Okay. Let's just collapse that again. So here, these need to start slanting back, and we're going to need a loop cut accordingly. And one more, I think, before it will join back up with there. Extrude. And extrude. Okay. Now once again, we need to make an adjustment because this side's got the better anatomy. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna see how many are we here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this one, what we're going to need to do is we're going to go extrude. And fold that one. And fold that. And that ought to give us just enough to get a little bit of that upper curve in the pick. Okay. Then if we go like so and out just a smidge. go. Alright, so then we've got 3 points here, so fall there, fall there. Okay, and now we should be able to see over here. How this one needs to get warped to get the right contour. Something like that. And this way, like that. And like that, okay? Object mode. Let's see. That pretty much works. What I am gonna do though is I'm gonna grab you guys, also put you on an edge. I'm gonna grab you guys, and also put you on an edge. And probably I should hit the save button. Methinks that might just be a good idea. Considering that we've got a large percentage of body now and we had yet to hit the save button. Okay. Now what do I want to see? What I want to see? What I want to see? There we go. Next thing I want to work on is actually on the back. So that away. So it's going to be this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And that is our hydrate. So everyone, let's acquire our nearest safer consumption beverages and take a sip. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. Mm-hmm. Full there. Full there. Full there. Oh boy, okay. Okay, that works. That works, that works, that works. Now we're just gonna go clip that. Like so. Okay. Now we're gonna go here. This bunch. And we're gonna extrude the entire lot up until like there, I think. Quite high. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go edge loop 1, 2, and that was the wrong button. This is so intense. I feel like I'm watching surgery. Hello, Digi. Yes, it is a little bit surgical. I'm basically doing the sort of anatomical sculpting without being in sculpt mode. And I'm kind of just currently working on rough guesstimates based on my familiarity and existing mental library on what the contours ought to mostly look like. I was afraid to say anything for a while because I didn't want you to lose your lock-in mode. No, I appreciate having conversations. Especially when it's to remind me to switch on the hydrate timer again because I completely forgot to restart it. Whoopsie. There we go. There's our next hydrate timer. But my coffee is cold and I want to have another sip, so I'm going to have another sip just because I can. Save, thank you. That is in fact a very good idea right now. That is in fact a very, very good idea right now. Let's just go into object mode for a moment so that I can get an idea of what I'm looking at. We need to narrow out the top of the back of the neck still. But for the most part, this is actually coming together really, really much faster than I was expecting it to. So, yay. We have been streaming for what? An hour? A little bit more than an hour? He looks nice. I'm glad because I'm trying to keep this as low poly as I can feasibly do so while keeping his silhouette. I'm gonna see what will be viable in terms of when I do the more detailed parts of things. If I can do as much of this as possible without going into a subdiv modifier, then I will be really, really happy. Because I really don't want to use another subdivision modifier unless I absolutely have to. Now, what I can't remember is what the hotkey is for seeing what your stats are. Window, no. Josh Vang, hello. Which is generally harder, male shapes or female shapes? I assume both have different challenges. I personally am more familiar with the male shapes than female shapes. I often struggle to undetail a feminine shape enough. Like, that's for me personally. Everyone has their own inclinations and where they're most familiar. I'm personally better at working with guys in general across the board. But yes, how are you doing today, Josh? I am doing very well, thank you. We had our streaming laptop arrive today. I spent literally the entire time I was awake before making supper tonight getting all of my software that I need installed. So all of my streaming software is on there. I've started putting together the OBS scenes and everything. It's still like half done and I haven't got my capture card yet, but it's here. You guys, you got it here. I am shook that it arrived as quickly as it did. I was not expecting it kind of before Monday. I was really honestly not expecting it before Monday. Like, I expected it to leave the city where it was shipping from today. That was really quick. Yeah. And it went literally halfway across the country to get to me. So it's like, wow. I feel like for me that stuff takes weeks. Yeah, I think it also largely depends on where the supplier actually is located. In this case, the supplier actually had local stock, which was a really nice change of pace, because usually it needs to come from overseas. Or usually anything that gets ordered needs to come from overseas. And then you're in for a minimum of like 3 weeks. Before customs. Okay. Are you working on just a com or just practicing? I'm pretty much practicing. I'm using one of my original characters for this. So this is Ebony, who's one of my teammates in Fort Mystehaven that we're putting together. I know it doesn't really look like him in the reference at the moment because he's missing his hair. But yeah, we're just practicing for now. I want to get better at 3D modeling. It's one of the things on my bucket list. I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to model. I want to be able to UV paint. I want to be able to rig. It just means that I will be able to do so many more different kinds of things. Saw the news, of course, enjoying the laptop. I don't know if you've had time to see anything up yet. I have half set up the OBS. I've got all of my streaming software otherwise set up. So my VTuber runs on it. My iPhone connects to it for VBridger. That also connects all nicely. Yay! But yes, Sai, good to see you. Hello. StreamerBot opens, which it hadn't for ages on my main computer, so hopefully StreamerBot stays opening on the new one, so that'll be nice. And whatchamacallit, I've got Steam on there so that I can have my VBridge and VTube Studio run, because those run via Steam. And I've got my browsers on there in case I need to download something. I've got Voice Meter on there so that I've got my audio splitting. I have 3 virtual cables in there installed successfully. Anything else? Anything else? I have a soundboard type of thing on there, but I don't know if I will be able to integrate that one into my streaming system just yet. I will see. I really hope I will be able to, because it's the type of soundboard that actually gets used for theatre. So it's got a lot of versatility, more so than a bunch of other stuff. So I'd like to be able to start messing around with soundboard type things. And we'll see how that pans out. If it doesn't actually connect with the streaming stuff, then oh well. But I've got it. I had it on this machine as well, it just didn't want to fly. I have my XR animator on there for when I eventually get 3D. So that is a webcam based camera tracking for 3D models. It works really nicely. So yeah, we've got pretty much everything there. I've just got to build my scenes in OBS now, and get a capture card, plug the capture card in between the two machines, and get my audio routing going. Thank you for the cape, Digi. I want to be able to do it. Not gonna lie, to me it looks like you're doing it. Well, I'm currently at the easy part. The hard part is making sure that the loops will actually loop the way that we want the loops to loop. I love that, thank you. Yes, the cape is actually an interesting thing. It's got an open back, which you most of the time can't really see. But that open back lets the wing control hub for those things slot through, so the hub stays out without the wings kind of interfering with the cape. So I can stay warm without having stuff getting stuck under my elbows while I'm flying. I cannot stand cluttered fabric underneath my elbows or between my elbows and my torso. It drives me insane. But I'm just going to take those off for a moment because otherwise you can't see what I'm doing. Very good, very good. Yay, I'm glad. Yes. But slowly but certainly we're getting places here. We're slowly but certainly getting places here. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to add... where is about the bottom of it? It's here. So this is where I need just one more of these. And this is gonna go edge, no vertex, rip. There we go. Join. Grab that and dissolve that edge. Okay. Now this we're going to extrude up because this is going to be the bottom of the trapezius muscle. At risk of sounding like a broken record, I admit I admire your humility and your drive to improve, but sometimes I think you're too humble. You're already doing way more than the average person can. If you ain't gonna gas yourself up, somebody has to. Thank you, Sai. Thank you. Knowing biology and all that, come on. Yeah, but I can't do math. And accounting scares me. And don't ask me to make a phone call. And don't ask me to organize a party, because I... Yeesh. Yeesh. Event coordination? No. That scares me. I cannot get people in the same room at the same time. I've tried. Well, nobody's perfect, but you've got a calculator for math. This is true, but you need to know what kind. You need to know if you're going to use the calculator for the math. You need to know what buttons you're going to want. You need to know the process so that the calculator can do the calculating. If you don't know the process that you're trying to calculate for, then it doesn't matter if you know how to operate a puppet calculator. You're going to end up doing the wrong math. Who needs complicated math for art anyway? For now, I don't. We'll see when it comes to the game dev side of things later if I ever need to do projectile calculations in terms of vector calculations for projectiles. Also, navigation is a thing. Ugh. But then again, I find triggers easier than algebra, so... I guess at the end of the day, all we need to know is that there are the scary numbers and there are the not scary numbers. Okay, now that goes down. No? Yes, a whole lot of it goes down. And out, like that, okay? Like so. Okay. This is definitely going to probably need a split. So let me clear that one. Delete face. I need one division there. Well, yeah, game dev is another thing entirely, right? A dozen tasks that all go into one thing. Yeah, definitely. That is an accurate description. Ironically, exactly like 3D modeling. Like the actual getting the vertices where you need them is arguably the easy part. part. And after that it gets a bit chaotic. Yeah, you need maths for that. I'm no game scientist, but from what I know, even the most popular and most polished video games made by one person tend to be much simpler than those who had a team. Yes, of course, simplicity isn't bad as long as it's accounted for. Yeah, no. I think it's all got to do with focus. If you are doing everything on your own, you obviously haven't got time to invest in doing all of the things. So, you have to focus your efforts on what will actually have measurable, fun, viable outcomes. Okay, that's looking decent. There we go. Undertale, a game made by mostly one person, with the help from one other artist. Deceptively simple under the hood. If he tried to make a AAA game, it would have taken approximately 500 years, probably. Probably. But there's also the consideration that Undertale was also not that person's first game as well. Like, I'm not 100% familiar with the history, but I do know that it wasn't a first foray either. Sometimes doing something simply and well is a mark of a lot of time having had been invested prior. Okay, so I'm happy with that contour for now. I'm kind of terrified of what's going to happen with the shoulder blades, but we'll figure that out. What I do want to go through is I want to put this on a I want to put this on a matte cap. And I want to put this on a toon shader here. Just want to see how that translates, even though it's not going to look good at the moment because the normals are in their default state. But it should give us a relatively decent idea of how it's behaving. I still struggle to understand how some people manage to start small instead of having proverbial eyes bigger than their stomach. Oh, we all start with that. We all 100% start with that. And then we fail, and then we realize, oh shucks, I need to take a more focused approach, and that's part of the learning process. It's just part of the learning process. Literally, if you're a creative person, it is a canon event regardless of what you're making. You're gonna fall for that trap. I know, I've certainly done so. So, it happens. It 100% happens. Moonshiro, hello, hello, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. We're doing a little bit of 3D modeling today. Working on a base for one of my original characters. Doing some practice. Getting slightly simpler topology than all of my previous attempts at doing 3D modeling. You were playing with computers today? Yes, we have been. I have managed to do most of the setups for the new laptop, which arrived today. Squee! Very exciting. And I still need to do a bunch of stuff in OBS to make sure that it is completely ready to go. But yeah, we're almost there. Woohoo! I'm okay, recovering from a late night of wedding last night. Ooh. Late wedding night. Ooh. Fun. Waiting. Yeah, okay. I thought it meant that was what you were trying to say, but I wasn't 100% sure. But I'm glad I was not completely off the mark. Woohoo! Yes. I thought that was what you meant, yes. Okay. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do these two big muscles on the side, which are going to need 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to need 1, 2, and 3 to close. Okay? There we go. My friend looked like a fairy. Ah! That's so cool. I really hope your friend has a long-lasting happiness. Hehe. It's a wolfman, yes. So this is actually Ebony, who had his glow up in the Globy Paws challenge. And this is just without his hair on, so he looks very, very different from his usual self at the moment. But he's actually based off of a blue merle border collie. So he's a sheepdog. His ears are going to be floppier after. I'm going to put a bone structure in the ear so that they can fold. And that is the hydrate timer, so everyone acquire your nearest safe for consumption beverages, and let's take a sip. End of coffee. Sad moment. But oh well. It has served us well. Ebony, like the color. I honestly don't know if it's actually a color, it just reminds me of. I think there's a color of that shade in like a creamy white bone. That's ivory. Ivory, that is the color you're thinking of. That's also what piano keys are historically made out of. Historically, it was elephant tusks and the like. That's ivory. Ebony is actually a kind of hardwood. It's a dark, dark hardwood. Joshua, hello, hello. You thought you were safe, but I was waiting in the dark for my moment. Gasp. I wonder, what on earth could Joshua be planning today? I wonder. Yeah, that I really, thank you. Yeah. It's always new and exciting, so you can never be sure. Indeed, this is true. This is true. You do a lot of character modeling? I've typically seen you do environments. I've done environments for clients, but I started modeling with characters. I've never finished a model because I always fell apart at the rigging, which is one of the things that I want to conquer this time around, is actually the rigging. But I actually started with character stuff. So ebony is a word that I know, it was just not the right connotation. Yeah, ebony and ivory generally go together because, if I'm not mistaken, historically, ebony was what the black keys on a piano were made of as well. If I'm not mistaken. Because they were... it's such a dark, dark wood. Or more like I've never seen you do a person. Yeah, usually I've been kind of scared of doing character modeling on stream because it's easy to get bonked. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk today, but I'm also not exactly working on stuff that's detailed in terms of my reference. So I'm feeling slightly less concerned about that. You ever just randomly get reminded of something and you have a full-on blast to the past? Yes. Terrifyingly frequently. I hope the model comes out nicely. Every time I tried, it comes out looking a tad derpy. You know what? That is very fair, very normal. We all start with derpy models. I think this is probably like at least the 20th attempt from me at doing a person model. At least the 20th attempt. And I've yet to finish one. So do not be discouraged. The derp is real. Just gotta never give up? Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a combination of not giving up and assessing every time. And assessing with everything, what could you do better this time? What worked, what didn't work? Got to give him a gigachin for the funnies at some point. Oh my. Okay, what's happening over on the other side? This reminded me a bit of Pepicora. Not sure if you know how to write it, but it's like the art of making statues out of paper. Oh, yes, yes. Yes. I've actually done... There's actually a plugin for Blender that lets you convert your models into that sort of papercraft stuff. The whole Ebony and Ivory thing did that because there's a Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder song named just that, which was referenced by a kids movie from my childhood called The Racing Stripes. Oh, I remember Racing Stripes. And the lines of cubes and triangles. Yes. Yes, Moonshiro, exactly. That's the one where the daughter of a ranch owner adopts a zebra and uses it as a racehorse. Yes. I remember Racing Stripes. I remember that premise. I also remember that the animals were anthropomorphized in that a little bit, in the sense that they could talk. Well, you could hear their thoughts in animal speak. The humans couldn't understand them, but you could understand the animals as the viewer. I remembered it. I liked it. Yeah, it was a fun movie. It was a fun movie. One of the flies sings a couple of lines of Ebony and Ivory because they were standing on the zebra. Oh, yes. And then the other one sings, "You can't touch this," but doesn't remember any of the words. Oh, my word. I can't remember the singing flies. I could not remember that being a thing. Okay, almost got this fitting. Okay. This needs to be up there. This needs to be there. Okay. Okay. There we go, there we go, there we go. Fill. Loop cut. Loop cut. Fill. Fill. Okay. We have a larynx. Mostly. Ooh. Undo. Undo. This needs another loop. Okay, the main girl in the movie, I forgot her name, and the main actress did in the light of the year. She did the Racing Stripe movie. She did Ice Princess with Michelle Trachtenberg. May her memory be a blessing. She did a lot of very physical movies that year. Kind of feels like making a character in The Sims, but way more complicated. Yeah, it's like making a character in The Sims, except you've actually got full control over literally everything. I mean, basically. Yeah, I mean, it's not wrong. The Sims is basically this, but for dummies. If you can phrase it that way. It's the light version. Is every cube or like connecting dot a movement point in like rigging a VTuber? Yeah, so basically, what is happening in the 3D world is that each dot is a coordinate in space. So if you see over here, these transform dots over here, they are coordinates, right? So if I move a dot, you'll see that its coordinate in the world space is going to move. Now, all of the math about how a 3D model moves is based on the relative positions of all of these dots. Am I crazy or is that a very long neck? It looks very long because it's incomplete at the moment. Every time I watch someone work on Blender, it makes me want to stop, but it always seems so complicated. It does seem complicated, but you're only going to use 20% of the features that Blender has, 90% of the time. Like, literally, 90% of the time, you're only going to use 20% of the features. Because you can make entire movies in Blender. So, it's got everything. Entire teams' pipelines can do the thing in here. So, if there's something that you want to do, you only focus on learning the parts of Blender that you need for the things that you want to make. Don't try and learn all of Blender straight from the get-go. No offense, because stylization is a thing and it can work, I just couldn't help but see it. Oh no, without the head on it, it absolutely looks way too long. I guarantee, I believe you 100%. And that's because of the slant that exists in the anatomy. So if we just come to the back view, side view here, we're actually seeing where the back of the head meets the cranium, which is why the neck looks so long. But literally, it's halfway through the face already. So in practicality, it is definitely not going to end up displaying like that. So if I hide that for a bit, it's going to look a lot shorter. But yeah, so basically how it works in 3D is that each of these cubes is basically just, or each of these little planes is the right word for it, is just a piece of information that says that the space between these coordinates is connected. But when you add a skeleton to this, the skeleton is the bones that are used to control the thing, and they are not a physical thing in the rig. So I don't know if you've ever seen spine animation in process or something like that, but it's basically like the rotation deformers in Live 2D. It's sort of like that. So you will put your bones in the center of the parts that you want them to affect. And that is going to then have its own coordinates and rotation vectors and things like that. And depending on which way the bone is pointing, each vertex will do math to follow the bone that it's attached to. And that's how the thing moves. Wasn't a movie of a cat floating on a wooden box, all done in Blender and won an Oscar? Yes, that's Flow. It was entirely done in Blender. The box eventually did become a boat. The box eventually did become a boat. The cat is joined on his little boat by a lemur, a capybara, and a secretary bird. I have watched the movie. It was a very atmospheric movie. No dialogue. Very interesting. If you are not in the mental state for an atmospheric movie, you are 100% going to fall asleep through it. Not that I'm a huge fan of the Oscars, especially the terms of animation, because it's proven that people choosing on not watching all of the movies and don't have an education on animation. Yeah, like, I think that's the thing with all the award ceremonies, is that there is a degree of bias in them. In some way, shape, or form. So, while the actual awards are a feather in the cap, the nominations are probably the more important thing. Because you can't necessarily get in unless you've got enough nominations. And enough nominations is a bigger vote of confidence in your in what you have achieved than a than a biased actual final call. That's my side rant on the entire animation and Oscar thing, especially after it was discovered that they don't actually watch all the movies. But a really cool movie was made in Blender. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's hundreds. Okay, let's put this back into our temporary toon shader again and see how's that displaying. Okay, our larynx is larynxing. Our larynx is larynxing. Yay. So far, this is functioning more or less like how I wanted to. Yay. I'm slightly terrified of doing the custom normals later, but it's fine. Any tool can be used to create art. The only question is how specialized is the tool. Exactly, exactly. Old movies were literally made with photographs, so... Whoopsie, I forgot to set the timer again. Oh no! Forgot to set the timer again. How long has it been? Probably about 5 minutes. Timer. Yeah! Like, 100% you have tools that are made dedicated for a job. But those tools are usually made as a result of a lot of refinement after a non-specialized thing was first used for that same job. As a matter of novelty. Now, here, I need to get rid of this one, edge, and merge, not that way, and extrude that, join you, join you. Vertex, rip and fill. Mark that. There we go. Toon Shader, what's that called? It's cool. Yeah, this is what we call a matte cap, and it's basically a temporary shader that does all of the lighting calculations based on math. You might also be thinking of cell shading if you're thinking of the look that makes 3D look 2D. Yeah, so cell shading is specifically for when you are working in 2D. Yeah, so what we're referring to when we're talking about that in the 3D space is we're talking about what we call non-photorealistic rendering, or NPR pipelines, right? And basically, they all function off of something that behaves sort of like this. So, to show you guys what's actually happening here for a second. I need to show you guys here. Face orientation. No, that's not it. Okay, there's not... Is it? Display vertex normals. Okay, that's the one I was looking for. It's not actually called cell shading with CG animation. No, it's not actually called cell shading with CG. Because cells are literally the act of... Cell shading was initially the act of painting a piece of glass in layers to get a piece of glass or a cell to be a full frame for an animation. But it's... You get a similar sort of look with it when you're using what we call a toon shader, but it's technically not the same thing. Learning intensely in Harrier class, yeah. So this funky bunch of blue lines that we're seeing here, what we call normals. And basically, they are the vector direction perpendicular to each one of our vertices away from where they are pointing in relation with everything around them, right? So each vertex has a direction that it's pointing relative to the vertices around it. Okay, that's why they are looking like they're pointing all over the show, because they're all in weird places. And the more the vertices are pointing in the same direction, like on the chest here, we'll see a bunch of them all pointing more or less in the same direction, the more it's going to look like the same layer, I suppose you could call it, in the shading, right? Back when it became a big deal for certain games aesthetics, I always saw it called cell shading. Yeah, that's just making it accessible for the common folk. It's layperson stuff. It's layperson terminology. But yeah, in a nutshell, what it's doing here is it's seeing what this shader is doing is it's looking at which direction each one of these little blue lines is pointing relative to the camera, and putting that on a slider, or a sliding scale, basically, what you could call it. So the more that the vertex is pointing directly at the camera, the more white it's going to look on. If you're looking on a black to white gradient, you're looking at more on the whiter side of the level, and the more that it turns away, the more it's going to be on the blacker side of the thing. Now, doing funky stuff with nodes that I'm not going to break brains over right now because I'm not in that part of the process yet, you can manually put different colors on different parts of that gradient, which is how they've gotten this piece of blue to show up over here, as well in this thing, so that depending on where each one of these normals is pointing relative to the camera, it's going to change the color with the same amount of fall off of angle away from the camera. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense. But in a nutshell, everything is math. In a nutshell, everything is math. So these are the normals per the faces. So these are the directions that each face is pointing. Okay, here by the waist you can see it much more clearly. The fall off relative to the camera position. And guys, just FYI, I am not a professional at this. I do not know how to explain it all as well, because I do not completely understand half of it too. I'm trying to learn it, but I have still got much to learn. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build in a loop at the base of the neck for the purposes of the neck rotation. And let me just turn this back into studio lighting. But yeah, these matte caps are all designed for a different purpose. So, for example, something like this is supposed to help you see where you have consistent lines and normals and where you've got parts that are warping a little bit. And something like this simulates a bit more of a metallic material. So if I understand correctly, basically the program uses the topology to determine where the surface is pointing in relation to the camera, and then uses that and the location of the light source to automatically give you that 2D shading look to the viewer. Pretty much. That is a very good summary. And basically what you can do is, when I'm saying custom normals, there is a way to override which way the light is calculated for each vertex, ignoring its actual orientation, and rather looking at something that you manually input. Yes, thank you for the simplification. It was much needed. Thank you, Harrier, for explaining as well. Yeah, no. Like how in games like Guilty Gear Strive, they ignored the automatic processes to manually make certain cinematics look better since it was always going to be from one angle anyway. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know how many of you guys are on Twitter, but every now and again I've also been resharing something by someone by the name of a version of reality, who is actually building some tools to simplify the process of making custom normals. Which is really, really, really helpful. Also Dragon Ball FighterZ, yeah, It's just easier to understand when it's written, and I can read it again and again, and the verbal stuff is confusing, especially when you use words that are not usually used in English, and I am, yeah, no, I get it. They also cheated the visuals a bit by warping the models until it looked right. When you play the camera, you can cheat a little bit because the viewer can't spin around it. Yeah, no, that's 100% a very well-documented cinematic cheat in the 3D industry. Very well documented cheat. I'm gonna just delete this try for a moment. Not quite doable in a game that has full camera rotation, but you can do it in movies. Still art in games and with a fixed camera. Yeah. Like, the only time it would sort of make sense in a full camera rotation type of game would be, I don't know, if you were animating Luffy from One Piece. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I can't remember 100%. I have not actually watched it, so I can't say I've actually heard the name aloud. Like how if there's a countertop that is blocking part of the character that you don't want to animate that part of the character for that specific movement in the movie? Yeah. Yeah, so everything that is not visible, you don't actually have to animate. Just as a matter of not spending time that is going to not be not spending time on something that's not actually going to be in the end product. Yeah, Luffy. You can just stretch their arm so that it isn't blocked by their body. Yeah. Yeah, that sort of manipulation is very, very, very common in 3D work. Okay. As long as it looks good, it works. The viewer can't look behind the curtain. Exactly, exactly. That did give me a funny mental image of that explanation. Yeah, like, if you ever look for cursed pictures of how to get... of how, certain frames in animated movies ended up looking that way. You'll see them quite frequently. Especially, I think the first time that I was aware of something like that being made publicly visible was... I'm not 100% sure, but as soon as the NDAs are out for artists to reveal what they were doing in the background, especially in the 3D side of things, the funky stuff of how we had to cheat this model to get this shot to work, those cursed pictures are actually incredibly informative. There are videos where people use mods to unlock the camera in Dragon Ball FighterZ and see the cinematics from a different angles. They immediately break and look like abominations. Yeah, but to the camera it looks way better than if they didn't. Yeah, hundreds. I just want to see. Yeah, I'm just going to put that on so that I am not confused about what I'm looking at. I can then see contrast, which helps me a lot. Okay. You can also cheat foreshortening by, for example, expanding the limb that's pointing towards the camera so that it looks more right and more cinematic and more dramatic. Yeah. Yep. I don't like that, but okay. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Undo all of that. Delete those faces. Easier said than done, of course. It's obviously much more time consuming to do than it is for me to say. Yeah, but that's the same for any technical process. Now, let's see. First things first. Vertex, rip. Okay. Full. And up. Full. And join. That comes forward. That goes back. That goes back. And... Is that a Biden? Thank you for the save. Greatly appreciated. That's also a hydrate. So everyone, acquire your nearest safe for consumption beverages. And let's take a sip. Welcome, Alex. Hello, hello. Good to see you. How are you doing? Shucks, it's midnight. Okay. Yeah, that happened. I am not surprised. Oh my. Doing good. Got some chicken to eat. Ooh, lovely. Interestingly, I was also eating chicken tonight. Interesting. There is something foul afoot. Foul with a W. Okay. Top of the collarbone is looking good. I'm not actually sure I'm happy with the angle on this. Let's see, rotate. No. That's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not good. That's not good. This line is not supposed to be that wobbly. At all. Doot. Let's think. At the moment, that's how that's gotta be. In order to get the right curvature, I think. You know what my issue is? I'm starting to put in too much detail. Put that there. And let's go with this one usually lets me see what's happening pretty clearly. Over here. Not gonna lie, that looks a little cool with the red back panels. That looks a little cool. Always does at this point. Okay. I'm happy with the traps, I'm happy with the throat. Toaster, thank you for the save. So, we have, in the span of 2.5 hours, got the bulk, I would say, of our base mesh. I'm actually gonna have to call it here because otherwise I'm going to not be functional tomorrow to actually do actual work. But we have got a good chunk of a functional base that is not too high poly, I don't think. I just can't remember what the shortcut key is for seeing my stats on the model. I can't remember what that shortcut key is. Add-ons. I definitely want Node Wrangler later. And I want info. That is not what I'm looking for. I can't remember what it is. we've got most of it. We've got most of a base. I would love to know what my vertex count is, though. Let me think. Let me just go over here for a moment so that I can just quickly go over here and say Blender, show vertex count. Enable statistics within the viewport overlays. Okay. So, viewport overlays. Statistics. Okay. That is actually not too bad. That's not too bad. Currently, (1,071 vertices. I wonder if that is including... Okay, that is including the modifier. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. It's including the modifier. That's very good to know. Nice. So we have placed, and we've placed a lot more, but we've finalized 552 little dots in the stream. We have placed and kept 552. That's nice. It's good to know. Okay. And then if we go back to let's go lighter version so that it hasn't got that harsh lighting. No, that looks on par for what we'd want it to do and behave like. Okay, let's see if we can close up the sternum and then I'll be happy to call it a night. If we can close up the sternum, then I'll be a happy camper. Extrude. Like that. There we go. And get that gone. I don't want that edge to display that way. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this one and we're going to subdivide it into two pieces so that we can have one that closes up like that, one that closes up like that, and one that closes up like that. And now, if we put that on the mat cap, no, this, let's try, like that. That looks better. That looks significantly better. Okay. Okay. Okay, that looks like it'll work. That looks like it'll work. Object mode. Let's see. Yeah. That'll do just dandy. That'll do just dandy. Okay. We have gotten as far as I think we are going to get this day. So I've still got to figure out, obviously, the shoulder blades. Got to get topology that will rig nicely for that. Then I need to fill in the ribs and everything else. But that is not a today problem. Guys, thank you so much for indulging my need to scratch the 3D itch. We will possibly look at continuing this after I filled in the other gaps. I think yeah. I'm not sure exactly when. I've got to prioritize a couple of other things as well. But I would like us to actually spend as much time working on this on stream as possible. So maybe I shouldn't actually do the hip area off stream. Because if we do everything on stream, then I can actually keep track of how long I worked on it, more or less, as well. Because if we try and do this almost as a speed run challenge to see how long it takes us to actually do the thing, maybe there is a higher chance of us actually finishing the thing. I don't know. I think that's what we're gonna aim for, more or less. So what I am gonna want to do once I've got this base mesh done and rigged No, I'm not going to do the rigging before I have done the outfit variants on this. I'm not going to do the rigging until I've done the outfit variants on the topology. What I'm going to do for the topology is that I'm not going to do them as separate objects. I'm going to basically model, I'm going to copy the actual base mesh and then model the outfit topology onto the base mesh in the same object so that we're not dealing with all of the parts. I am definitely going to then need to look at how the UV mapping is going to work on that, but that is not a today problem. That is not a today problem. Okay. Everyone, thank you so much. I will see you on Monday. What we'll be doing, I have no idea yet. I will let you guys know if I'm going to be on the two PC system then or not. Either which way, I want to have the OBS and everything set up come Monday, because Monday, Tuesday, or possibly Thursday, one of them, we are going to be doing our trade mill stream. We're going to be doing our trade mill stream, which is going to be basically my birthday stream, I think. Or is it that? No? That's not this. No, that. I'm thinking a week ahead. I'm thinking a week ahead. Okay. We're still in February. Next Thursday is still the 6th. Okay, there was a week. There's still a week. There's still a week. Woo! I had lost a week in my mental calendar. This is why you don't trust me with keeping track of dates. At all. So, thank you guys. I hope you had fun. I know it was a little bit more of a technical type of evening than what we usually have. I hope that I didn't make anyone seasick spinning around too badly. But I really appreciate being given the scope in which to actually try out all of these creative things and get better at them a little bit by the time, right? So yes, I shall see you all on a Monday. I've got a couple of more commission things in the queue, so we're going to be working on those in the Discord relatively soon as well. And yeah, we take every day one bit at a time, right? So I will see you guys soon. I hope you guys have a fun-filled weekend. Get some good rest in. I'm going to keep plugging away at all of the things. Spend some time setting up the laptop. And I will be seeing you guys soon. Alright. Have fun, everyone. And until next time. Cheery bye.